Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Future Proof U's podcast, Go F Yourself. As always, I am one of your co-hosts. My name is Dan Yu, and I'm here with my good friends and co-hosts, Aaron McKelkey.
How we doing,
and
Dan?
John Lope.
Hello.
So today, we're going to talk about a little bit of the nuances in networking. If you're following our content, you'll know that we love networking. We teach it. We promote it. We firmly believe that networking is by far the best way to advance your career, to find the next job, to really expand your reach. And we love in-person networking. And actually, we see that the trends around in-person networking are actually going much more aggressively now, and people are moving away from the digital networking. What are some of the trends you're seeing, Aaron or John? Who'd like to tackle this one?
I'll go first since that's a big part of what I've been working on. Companies are trying to find ways to do it and scale it because it was always easy to throw up a Zoom link and you could have 1,000 or 5,000 people show up. And now they go, okay, we want to do in person, but it can't be a one-off thing with 50 or 100 people. How can we get the reach and then scale that up efficiently and effectively? And I'm not here to say what the answer is, but there are a lot of people looking for that answer. John, what do you see?
Yeah, I think people want to return to being in person in some way, shape, or form. Not necessarily back in the office, although some people like being in an office, like I do, even though I don't have one now. So I think craving in-person interaction to sort of meet people and network is something that maybe is a byproduct of having, been a few years out of the pandemic now.
Yeah, and I really think that live events as an industry is a great growth industry to be in. I mean, if you just look at some of the biggest events from the past few years, the Taylor Swift tour, really earned, I think it was over $2 billion in 2 years, right? So, that's a great example of the impact of camaraderie and being together.
It's interesting that you say that, Dan, because it's simultaneous that a lot of musicians are canceling tours because they're not selling enough seats. So it's like, Taylor Swift she's got a huge community behind her that are obsessed with her. Whereas I think some of these other artists are, not that they're not great, but they're not arena selling, so they have to cancel their shows. It's an interesting video I saw about that this morning.
Yeah, and I think that the even the younger people out there, there's a trend, right? That people are going to flip phones, right? And they want to be more present. They want to be more involved on a personal level and not staring down at their phones. But I'd love to pose a question to you, Aaron. You really embraced networking as part of your pivot, which you successfully navigated last year. And how has networking continued to really enhance your reach?
Well, I learned a lot of it from you. I always knew it mattered, but I didn't know how to do it. And something that I learned is you have to have a document, a playbook, a code to follow. Oh, I'm going to go to this event. Step 1, step 2, step 3. After the event, on the flight home or the drive home, whatever it is, follow up step 1, step 2, step 3. And then you do it enough times, you don't actually need the list. It just organically happens. I've been living that as I just got back from an in-person event yesterday, and I was thinking, I didn't have a playbook. I didn't write anything down, and I've already been doing most of it because it's a habit at this point. And I would sum it up as this. Every time you've wished you had the network to get the next role, to meet people, whatever it is, and you felt as if you didn't have it, remember the feeling and go, the next time I say I'm too busy to go or I don't feel like it, remember that feeling of I wish I had a better network to help me with this, and that will be your motivation to carry it forward and not be stuck there again.
That's a perfect segue to my question to John. right? So, John, what are some of the things that you have found really helpful in you being inspired or lucky even in your networking?
Say that again? I did not.
Oh,
It didn't register in
sorry.
my brain for some reason.
So, now what were some of the things that helped you be inspired or even lucky in your networking and how you get out there?
Yeah, I think just finding events that interest you, finding events that, relate to what you're looking for at the end of the day. Next week is AI week, so I'm looking at events for that here in New York to see if there's anything interesting I can go to. Because both the topic is interesting, but also if that's interesting, you have something natural to talk about with people. And I don't want to be the recruiter that sits there and goes, "Oh, are you hiring?" or "Oh, are you looking for a job?" I want to say, "Hey, let me leverage my knowledge as a recruiter to say, oh, AI is really interesting. I see it shaping the job industry this way, this way, this way. What about you?" And use that as a natural conversation versus, give me job, give me
Yeah, well, yeah,
candidate.
well, the impromptu connection is usually more authentic, right? And
Yeah.
people crave authenticity. Aaron, have you been involved in any authentic, uh, impromptu kind of meetings lately?
Yeah, all the time. Besides the drunk Giants fan that needed my phone to find the BART station home to Oakland after they lost to the Padres on Tuesday night, uh, who then was like giving me some career and tech advice, unsolicited but entertaining nonetheless. Yeah, I think
That's
I,
terrific.
I view it as this. What John is saying is don't be the person who shows up with your resume and walks around to everyone and says, hire me, hire me, hire me. And they go, I don't know you. The analogy I've always heard that makes perfect sense here is you don't walk around to people at the bar and say, marry me, marry me, marry me, and you've never talked to them. You might talk to 1,000 people and give out 1,000 resumes or business cards, whatever you're looking for. But if it's purely transactional and you don't know them, you won't get anything out of it. And I would rather plant the seed, grow the relationship, and some of them come to fruition and many don't, but that's okay. I didn't do it to get something back. I did it to explore the potential and leave it open. Here's a cool one. I DM'd a big time creator after meeting them in person. A really simple question. I said, "Hey, I love your videos that you make. Could you share a little bit about your setup?" That's all I said in a single DM. I looked at my phone. I had 5 DMs back, including pictures of all this, the lighting, the cameras, the mics, the screens. And you could tell that person was just waiting for someone to ask that question because they had a lot to say. And they basically gave me the behind the scenes on everything they did. To which I was like, wow, I could use that. That's really valuable. And all I said was, hey, it was cool to meet you. I love your videos. They look awesome. And then all of a sudden, I get a 5 paragraph essay about how they set up everything that I've never seen them share. So I don't think they openly talk about that.
Well, the sometimes the passion is the not so pretty stuff. It's the ugly stuff. That's the operations behind the scenes. And so, John, what one of the things that you just mentioned was finding the right place to network, but also sometimes it just kind of happens organically.
Yeah, it can happen anywhere. I mean, I probably already shared this on the podcast. I was sitting at my local bar one day, just chatting with the bartender, and all of a sudden I heard the people next to me talking about how they're product managers. And so, of course, I went, "Oh, hello." Now we're connected on LinkedIn. I've had conversations following that. So it can happen anywhere. Famously, one of my former bosses, you couldn't sit on a flight next to her. She would be like, blah, 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 and be chatting people up. And it's just that gift of gab sometimes that, you learn things about people. And I think the pure reason that people, a lot of people don't know who people know. So even if it's someone who's a stranger, maybe they're not in my circle of influence, but maybe they know someone, right? And so by just finding natural ways to talk about things, interests, what you do, etc., and building rapport, you find people who might end up being career ambassadors down the line.
It's funny. Actually, at an evening out with you recently, we happened to chat about careers, and then two of your contacts said, "Wait a minute, how are you guys talking about careers?" And then we actually ended up talking about career advice and their job search, and I thought that was pretty organic right there. So
Yeah. Yep.
with that, one of the things that I love to do before events, right, is really prepare, but understanding the logistics around the events. And sometimes it's good to, if you're going to, let's say, a larger event, is to actually host your own event. So I'll give one example. I used to go to this conference for about 15 years in a row in San Francisco, and actually it was down in Monterey. And instead of going to play golf at these beautiful golf courses where you would network with three people that you already knew while playing golf, we would actually host a wine tasting. And so with the wine tasting, we were able to invite all of the people who weren't invited to play golf, and it ended up being mostly women, right? So women in my old industry in Wall Street, and they weren't asked to go play in the tournament, because maybe they're not big into golf. And so we were able to host this wine tour and got to spend all day, not just let's say 4 or 5 hours, but all day with a group. It ended up being about 25 year in, year out. And so that was a great, way to have your own event and have some really good quality time rather than just being in a smaller group or in that very kind of like transactional event where it's a really large room with hundreds of people. So that was one thing. Have you guys ever kind of hijacked your own event?
Mm, I, well, I mean, we worked for a company together that had their own events all the time versus, you know, not necessarily at a networking event, but and they worked really well at connecting people.
Yep.
So
Yep. Yeah, and then one of the other things that sorry, Aaron, go ahead.
I was gonna say the easiest one is just be the after party person. Before
Yeah.
anyone is thinking about where's dinner or drinks or do I go back to the hotel, proclaim it ahead of time if you can. Hey, a group of us are gonna go do this and walk down here after. You're invited if you want to join. And it just takes somebody to preempt that, and you're going to get a percent of the event to follow you afterwards because they're hungry for more, or somewhere without the loud music, or somewhere to go if I didn't get invited to the cool thing that had limited spots.
Right, and that's a self-select in, right? They're opting in because you're already prepared to host that event, right? And so with preparation, there's another thing that you can do is you have an easy way for people to contact you, right? And so it could be that, oh, I'm gonna send me your number, right? And I can text you, or make it easier and have a dot card. So this is a sticker. We all have dot cards here. John, show us your dot card. So we all have dot cards, right? So this is a sticker that you can put at the back of your phone. If the other person has their NFC enabled, you can just tap, and it will transfer your dot card little UX there to their phone. It'll automatically open, or if they scan the QR code right there. So that's a great way to be prepared for networking, and I think it was only $20 for this, right? So it's a great piece of technology that works really well, really efficiently, and it's pretty seamless because it's attached to the back of your phone. So with that, Aaron, I have a question for you. What are some of the things that you like to do in preparation for an event or for networking?
Will shock you that I'll take the social angle on this. I have always done this. I just didn't know it was a tactic. I thought it was a genetic trait I inherited from my grandpa, who was a car salesman. Look the people up who are going to be there. Could be the speaker, could be attendees, it could be someone who works at the place, whatever it is. DM them a really simple intro without any ask other than excited to meet you, excited to hear your talk. When I would go to industry conferences, I would find the 5 or 10 people I know I want to go to their sessions. Most star it in the app, and that's all they do. I'm looking up your LinkedIn, your Twitter, your website, wherever I can find contact info and saying, hey, I'm coming to Indianapolis to hear you speak. So excited for your session on this. I'd love to shake your hand afterwards. That's it. Guarantee no one else in the room did that ahead of time. Everyone's going to line up after, but they're going to know you because they see your profile picture in the message. They see you in person.
Mm-hmm.
And you start the intro with, hey, I'm the guy who said I'm excited to meet you. Then, easy extension on that, follow up, not the same day, on the ride home or the flight home. Thank them for the most valuable thing they gave you. Hey, it was even better than I thought to hear you speak, and your tip about doing this was amazing. Bonus point, show them proof of you doing it. For example, I met somebody on Tuesday. They gave me a tip on using an app. I could have just said, hey, thanks for the tip, I'll try it. When I DM'd them a follow-up the next day, I said it was so great to meet you. I loved your advice. And I screenshotted me doing the thing that he told me to do. And I said, wow, that is really awesome. I'm so glad you told me to do that. Then, if you're somebody who goes, I need content or I don't know what to post, if it's appropriate, if it's tasteful, and they've engaged with your DMs, you can turn it into a post and say, it was so great to go to XYZ conference and hear Dan talk. One of my biggest takeaways was Dan said you should always do this. And then a picture of Dan speaking or you and Dan shaking hands or a screenshot of you applying the tip that Dan gave and tag them. Nobody sends them a preemptive DM, introduces yourself in person, sends a follow-up DM, and then posts about it. You will be the only one, and they will remember you. And that's how I like to prepare in terms of socials.
Well, it seems so simple, and I think very few people do it. And the actual cost of doing it is pretty much zero, right? So, for everybody that's watching and listening, this is a great opportunity for you to exercise those muscles and really practice good networking technique. Also, what you can do on the back end is, of course, you're going to connect with them on LinkedIn. But a good way to journal this is maybe have like a spreadsheet or something, a tracker on what you did with that person, how you met them, when you met them. I think you can actually take notes, in a notes app, right? Really quickly while you're on the way home from the event, and just do it that way. John, do you have any comments on this?
Not necessarily. It made me think of another thing. My little psych brain just thought of something when you are meeting new people, right? Is the biggest thing we hate when we meet new people is forgetting their name. It went in one ear and right out the other. The easiest way to remember someone's name is to follow the following format. Oh, you said your name's Dan, right? Pleasure to meet you, Dan. It's funny, I have a cousin named Dan. 3 times, use a sentence with their name in it. The last time, it's more likely to embed in your brain. You'll be like, oh, that's the guy who I said my cousin's name is, Dan. Right? And you don't even need to have, it doesn't have to be true. It's just, it's good to have that third touch point to really encode it into your memory.
You're such a psych nerd.
And he's proud of it. That's okay.
Listen, I have
Aaron,
a whole book about music and different brain disorders because it's fascinating to me.
Aaron, and what are some of the other things that you can do? So you talked about before and you talked about after the event, right? So some of the great tactics before and after. What about during the event?
Yeah, you taught me that this is apparently called slighting the speaker. I've always thought about it as finding the hidden gems in the room. Let's say you're at a conference and there's a big name speaker. Everyone's going to swarm them afterwards, and unless you sit in the front and you elbow people, you're not going to get an audience with them, at least right away. But there are lots of other people that might be even better to network with, or more efficient than waiting in line 45 minutes to talk to them, and they go, no more, I got to leave, I got to catch my cab. Vendors during sessions are often more valuable for me than speakers. Definitely more than the big keynotes. Some of the best relationships I made, I was at a conference. I walked through the vendor hall. There was no one at a small conference. Not a single person besides the vendors. I had all of their full attention. And they were bored, so you don't even have to be that interesting. I like talking to the servers, the people setting up, the security guards. I got into an event, the first person this week, purely because I showed up first and I schmoozed the security guards. Hey, are you guys ex-cops or ex-military? Has this been hard to set up? I was just asking about them. And when it came time to start the line and someone to go through first, they're like, hey, Aaron, you come through the line first. And it was purely because I just built a relationship with someone that everybody else ignored, the security guard. Well, you don't get in if the security guard doesn't let you in. So it is actually a valuable relationship. Another fun one that I had, I met somebody who didn't look like they fit in with the crowd. At an in-person event, they were the AV guy, essentially the DJ, and then there was a video screen. And I just said, oh, what do you do here? Did you get invited? Are you an attendee? And he goes, nah, I'm just the AV guy, thinking I wouldn't be interested. And instead, I started saying, oh, you're on aux? Do you have a playlist somewhere? I want to hear the music, and I'm going to critique your music. Later on during the party, the DJ came out of the little booth and grabbed me. He was like, hey, Aaron, how am I doing? And it was just, I'm sitting there, I might as well talk to him. So sometimes you can find the hidden players. The last example I'll give, when you're in a room with one of the most powerful, wealthy, well-known people, and they have bodyguards, everybody lines up to talk to them. I felt kind of cringe doing that. I talked to the bodyguard about the awkwardness of waiting to talk to this person. And they let me cut the line, put their hand on my back, and guided me up there and said, sir, I think you should meet this gentleman. He's been patiently waiting for you, and he's really nice. I don't think I would have got to talk to him that night if I wasn't nice to the bodyguard and asked him, how's this gig? Has it been crazy? You guys doing all right? And just start a conversation with the hidden source or the hidden person you wouldn't naturally gravitate to, and that can lead to better networking opportunities.
This is great. All of these great nuggets, these are all invaluable ways that people can enhance their networking and make their networking time more effective. So for all of you, I hope that you're taking notes. Obviously, you can find out more about our firm, Future Proof You, and this has been the Future Proof You's podcast. I'm going to go over these tips just one more time. So from John, finding the right place, picking the right place to network, right? Finding things that you like to do, that your interests, you're going to have common interests with people. It can happen anywhere. That's another great one, right? You never know when you're going to network, and so just be ready to network. I love hosting my own events, and maybe it's an off-campus event, or maybe it's the after party, and then also being prepared with a dot card. So I can't endorse that enough. And then from Aaron, researching before, DMing them before, and then DMing them after with kind of a follow-up and a summary of what you learned. Also, going to the vendor halls during the sessions. Everyone wants to go to the sessions. Be the person that doesn't go to every session. Be the person that actually goes to the vendor hall and meets the people that are actually working the event. And then also slight the speakers. Everyone wants to slight the speakers. You can actually hit up the speakers beforehand and then find the hidden people. So maybe it's the security guard at the front door, maybe it's the DJ, or maybe it's the bodyguard. You never know where you're going to be able to find somebody that could help you nudge your networking along. So again, thank you everybody for listening. My name is Dan Yu. This has been Future Proof Use podcast. Go after yourself. I did it again. As always, with Aaron McKelkey and John Lovig. Thank you guys for being here. As always, we really appreciate all the listens, downloads. Visit our website, futureproof-you.com for more information about our classes, our blog, and our coaching services. Thanks so much, and have a great day.